Hello and welcome to Little Likac podcast, episode 14. Thank you for joining me. I'm sorry about the lighting this afternoon. It's a little bit shady in here because it's getting a bit darker in the afternoons now when I'm podcasting, because it is 5 o'clock on Friday the 15th of October. So I've kind of pulled down the blinds because otherwise you do get nobody really wants to listen to me moaning about the lighting. Maybe I need to invest in one of those kind of ring light things that some people have. I don't know. Anyway, it is what it is. I'm sure you're not here for the lighting. So, hello, welcome to my podcast. My name is Amanda and I live in Derby in the UK, and this is a knitting podcast, not a lighting podcast. So thank you for joining me this afternoon. I have a feeling it could be a long episode because I have got a lot to show you. A lot of progress on various knitting projects that I've got, and that's what you really want to see, isn't it? Oh, I hope it is anyway. So I've made a lot of progress on a lot of projects. I've cast on some new projects, and I went to a yarn festival last weekend. Was it 1 week ago? Yes, 1 week ago I went to a yarn festival, and so I have got some purchases to show you, and there's quite a lot of purchases to show you. So I'll do that at the end, so if you're not interested in seeing the new things I've bought, then that will be the last section. Before I show you my finished objects and things like that, just a quick update on the Advent mini skein swap that I mentioned last episode. Thank you for those people who've been in contact with me. I know nobody has posted on the Ravelry thread, but I have had some emails. I've got 5 or 6 people interested, which is amazing. Mostly UK, although there is one lady in Europe and one lady in America interested. So if anybody else wants to join in with that, the sign up deadline is going to be next Friday. No, I'm going to be away. Let me think, what should I put as a sign up deadline? We'll say next Sunday, which will be the 24th. I'm going to check the date. I'm going to check the date. Oh, this is going well, isn't it? Yes, Sunday the 24th will definitely be the sign up close then for the mini Advent skein swap. So if you are interested in taking part in that, there's more details about it, or me waffling on about it, on episode 13. But basically you get assigned a partner and you swap 6 10-gram mini skeins that are leftovers from fingering weight 4-ply yarn, and you arrange with the partner to send and swap 6 10-gram mini skeins that are all individually wrapped so that they can use them as part of an advent calendar. You can, if you want to, and a couple of people have said this, if you'd like to swap with 2 different people, so you send 6 to one and 6 to another and get 6 back from one and 6 back from another, and then you've got 12, so you can do the 12 days of Christmas or anything like that, then that's fine. Just let me know that's what you're interested in. So thank you for those of you who've signed up. A couple of people have said they were interested but haven't actually gone so far as emailing me or letting me know for certain that they want to do it. So if you fall into that category, that you've asked a few questions, that you were kind of saying, oh, might be interested, please let me know if you want to do it, because it'd be great to have you on board. So yeah, that's the Advent mini skein swap. And so if you want a bit more detail, check out the first part of episode 13. I did talk about it in the first 10 minutes, so it's in that section of the podcast. Right, so how's everybody doing? I can't believe it's the middle of October. As I say, I've got quite a lot to show you. Last couple of weeks have been interesting. I think last time I spoke to you, I was really croaky, had a really croaky voice, and said to you that I've got a croaky voice, and that I was doing a live online festival that afternoon, or the next day. And anyway, I actually ended up feeling quite ill, and I had a really nasty cold for a few days. Did go get a COVID test to be certain. I was doing the lateral flow tests anyway, but I went and actually had a proper full-on PCR test to double check, because I was really worried that it could have been COVID, but it wasn't, thank goodness. So yeah, still a little bit like everybody at the moment. There seems to be a lot of colds and things going around. What else have I done last? So yeah, I'm going to tell you all about the yarn festival that I went to last weekend, which was lovely. Apart from that, it's just been not been doing too much, which has been quite nice because it means I have been able to do a lot of knitting. So I'm going to start with finished objects. Now my first kind of main proper full-on finished object is the Always Better Together shawl that I had nearly finished last time I saw you. And I said though that I thought, oh, it might take me another 2 weeks to finish it, but it really didn't. It only took me another couple of days and it was done. So, and this is the edging, the bind off that I chose to do. So this was the last section of the shawl, was this big section here, and I had said to you that I'd got quite a lot of yarn left over, and so I wasn't sure how much, and as it turned out, by the time I'd finished, I've really pretty much used up all of that pink, and I've got maybe 20 grams of this pink left, I think. So I'll show you in full detail. I've been wearing this shawl a lot this week since I finished it, or the last 2 weeks. As soon as I finished it, I started wearing it in the mornings on my way to work. I have it wrapped around me in the car. Sometimes when it's cold in my classroom first thing in the morning, I've had it wrapped around me in the classroom. So, I don't know how best to show it. I haven't blocked it because it's cotton, so cotton doesn't really block. Doesn't hold its shape in that same way, and the way it was designed for cotton, so it fully drapes. It is heavy. It is pretty big, as you can tell. Let me just wrap it round me so you can see what it looks like on. Oh, I find it hard. I'm not very good at wrapping shawls around me. I think it does look nice like that. So yes, Always Better to go with the shawl. I'd knitted it in King Cole Cotton Soft DK. There is the pattern is available to knit in DK, but there is also information for making it with 4-ply. There are also different types of edgings you can use. I was going to do a picot edge, but actually as I started doing the picot I didn't like it and changed my mind, so went with just that as the very final edging. But there are options, different options for the edging. You can buy it online from a shop shop in Canada called River City Yarns, and I think it was designed specifically for them by Brenda Brayfield is the name of the designer, so you can buy the pattern through them. It is on my Ravelry project pages, so if you want the link to the website for that, you should be able to find that on my Ravelry pages. So very pleased with it. It's beautiful, and as I say, it actually didn't take me as long to finish off that last section as I thought it was going to, although I did kind of go on a bit of a mission over that weekend to get it finished. I suppose as well because I wasn't feeling very well. I was in bed, so got it finished. Alright, so that's my only proper finished object. However, I've got quite a lot of part finished objects, or half finished objects as sometimes we call them in the knitting world. So as I think you know, I have got quite a few pairs of socks on the needles at the moment, so I've been working my way through those, and I have completed a lot of single socks. So the first one is my Socks for WMAS, which is a make-along that is being hosted partly by This Nanny Knits, Lucy, her podcast, and also a lady called Jeanette whose daughter works for the NHS. And so this pair of socks I've been leaving in my car mostly. I've left the project bag in my car, and every time I've been stopped somewhere for a little bit waiting for my daughter to come out somewhere, I've been working on it a few rounds at a time. I then did bring it out of the car last night to finish the toes so that I could get it kitchenered ready to show you today. It is really big. I said that I was going to do a bigger size so that excuse me, I was going to do a bigger size so that it would be suitable for a gentleman, but it really does seem to be very long. I think it's probably about a size 10, and I haven't weighed it, but I don't think I've used half the yarn, but if I've used over half, I have got another ball of it, but I think yeah, definitely I say definitely, haven't weighed it, but looks to me, feels to me like I should have plenty, but as I say, I have got another ball of that yarn if need be. So it is a very, very big sock, but it is just a plain vanilla pattern. Got the foot finished, and I kitchened the toes closed at 6:30 this morning so that I could show it on today's podcast. Now you'll see I've actually left the needle because after I finished kitchenering it, I realised that somehow I had dropped or not really closed it up properly. I'm going to have to unpick the Kitchener stitch, which is a right pig to do. I'm going to have to unpick that and re-Kitchener the toes, so it's not quite. And I'm using the sock blocker I've got, where I think I showed it to you. I got it for I bought it for with a birthday voucher, where it kind of interlocks and it's extending, and I don't like it because it keeps falling apart. I'm not sure about it anyway. So that is one of the socks for WMAS. If you are interested in joining in that knit along, then if you go to This Nanny Knits, her website, it will have lots of information about that. I think she did a separate little video, so if you search in her videos you will find a little 10-minute video that explains everything about that. So that's one of my first finished socks. I do need to have those finished by the end of November, 6 weeks, so I do need to maybe now not just leave this one in the car and actually be working on it at other times as well, so that I definitely get the second one finished and get them sent away to Lucy. Okay, so on the same sort of note, socks and make-alongs, I've joined in with the Strictly Sockalong, which is that you knit on a pair of socks while you're watching Strictly Come Dancing, or any part of Strictly Come Dancing, Strictly It Takes Two, listen to the podcast, whatever. And last time I saw you, I actually remember to put Progress Keeper in. Last time I saw you 2 weeks ago, I was at this point, just about ready to do the heel, and I have finished this sock. I didn't tell you the details of the yarn from the last one. It's King Cole Zigzag if you're interested. So I finished this sock for the sock along, Strictly Sockalong. The pattern I'm using, I can't remember the name of the pattern. Tiptoe, because it's like Tiptoe to the Tulip. So the pattern is called Tiptoe Sock Pattern, and I think it's a really nice pattern for self-striping yarn. And the yarn that I am using, that's not the right bag. Oh, the organisation, the organisation. Seriously, Amanda, get your act together. Talking about getting my act together, I've realised I haven't even said where you can find me. I'll do. Don't know what I'll do about that. I'll maybe just put up at the beginning, up the top information. It's just going well, isn't it? So the yarn I'm using for my Strictly Sockalong socks is Opal. This is it. This is where I say my amazing German accent. Mit Silber Effect. Okay, Opal yarn. And so it's got quite a large amount of stellina in it. Let me see if I don't think you can see that in there today. Can you see it if I just hold the yarn? Ooh. I have cast on the second one. That was quick for me to get the second one cast on. So yeah, look, you can see the stellina there. Okay, so I'm doing them in sort of like Halloweeny colours, so they're kind of Halloween. I might pop them in a couple of other make-alongs, sock make-alongs. I keep meaning them to add them into Mouse's Makes Halloween sock-along that she's doing, or I think I don't think they'll fit in the spooky sock-along, I don't know. Anyway, now I'm going to confess, I finished this and sewed up the ends, the toes, Kitchener stitched it, and then I went to try it on and it doesn't fit. Somehow I've been a little bit too keen and eager to do the toes, and when I put it on, the heel part was actually a little bit too far down my heel. So I was like, oh, and I had sewn in the ends straight away. I mean, how often does that happen? If you're anything like me, sewing in the ends, I don't know why, you know, that doesn't happen until at least 2 weeks after you finish the second sock, usually for me. But I had even literally kitchened it and sewn in the end straight away. So to try and unpick this is going to be a pig. So then I thought, well, what am I going to do? Because this is too small for me. My eldest daughter, well, both my daughters' feet are probably a similar size to me. And so then I thought, well, actually, why don't I donate this pair to Socks for WMAS as well? So that's what I'm going to do, because I couldn't think of anybody else who would appreciate hand knitted socks and would like these particularly. So these are going to go to the Socks for WMAS as well. So I'm going to carry on knitting on them as my Strictly socks, but then I will have 2 pairs of socks to send for the WMAS, the West Midlands Ambulance Service socks. So yes, I'm knitting them on 2.25mm needles, DPNs, because that's my favourite way of doing it. I am now going to change the Progress Keeper over onto this pair. So as you can see, I have cast on the second pair, the second sock, which I'm quite impressed with myself. So I'm going to move the Progress Keeper right now while I remember. Bear with. It is a free pattern. Okay, it's a free pattern that I found online. The name of the pattern will have already come up on the screen, so if you just Google that, if you're interested, you should be able to find the pattern for yourself easily enough as well. So that's my second odd sock complete. This is going to be a podcast of odd socks and yarn haul. That's probably what I'm going to name it. The episode, yeah, odd socks and yarn haul. Right, then another pair of socks that I'm working on is my June pair of socks for the Rainbow Sock Chronicles. I didn't start these back in June. I actually started them, I think, in August or September, because my June socks, the ones that I did knit in or started in June, got lost, and there's a whole story behind that and trauma behind that I'm not going to go into now. But I really felt that I wanted to replace them and get a turquoise pair of socks for the Rainbow Socks Chronicles completed. And as long as I get them completed sort of by the end of the year, there's no major rush. But again, this last couple of weeks, I thought I would make sure I got one of these socks finished. So, ta-da! It's really pretty, isn't it? The yarn, I wish I could tell you what the yarn is. The yarn was a mystery yarn in my stash. So I don't know where the yarn came from or who dyed it. It's an indie dyed yarn, I know that much. I'm doing the Wood Nymph pattern by This Handmade Life. I had to think for a minute. Progress Keeper, that's where, last time I showed this was a month ago, because I didn't do any work on them. I didn't show them the last podcast because I hadn't worked on them for those couple of weeks. So the last time, but in the last 2 weeks, I've gone from there to there. And again, being a good girl, I cast on the next sock straight away. So I've done the ribbing, just about to start on the pattern. So I'm going to change the Progress Keeper. Look at me. So my daughter would say, "Yay, go you mum," because she's my biggest cheerleader. Right, so Progress Keeper added, little pumpkin one, so cute. So that probably now won't get knitted on for the next couple of weeks, because I do now need to work on my October socks for the Rainbow Sock Chronicles, and I haven't cast those on yet. I'm going to cast those on tonight though. I picked out the yarn and showed you the yarn last time, and obviously I've got 2 weeks and 2 days to knit those socks, but I am off for the next 2 weeks and 2 days. So I will be casting the October socks on this evening. So those are all of my mini socks that I have finished, single socks. Also, because I told you I've been productive, also kind of finished objects, part finished objects. My Radvent throw blanket that I've been working on. So again, 2 weeks ago, I had almost finished this square. So this was the yarn that my mittens, my full steamer head fingerless mittens had been made from. It's an Aracunia yarn. So that is another square for my blanket. This is kind of my memory blanket for 2021. And then I thought, right, yes, get caught up with those, Amanda, get back on schedule. So my ranunculus had been made earlier in the year. I think I did the ranunculus about August, September. I had held together 3 yarns, 2 lace weight yarns and a mohair yarn. Well, so 3 lace weight yarns. But I haven't included the mohair this time, but I've included the 2, there was one that was 100% silk and one that was 100% merino. I've held them together. And it's come out fine, absolutely fine. It's come out pretty much the same size, I think. Pretty much the same size as the others. So there is another square. That's not all. No, 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 no. That's not all. I also had finished my warm milk socks last time I saw you and had plenty of yarn left over. And so I have also got that square completed. I know they're all the same, but pretty colours. So, in fact, actually, look how nicely they go together. So that is squares 17, 18 and 19 done on my blanket. Only 6 left to go, and I've got, what, 3 months, October, November, December. 6 squares to go, I think. Need to get it finished. Need to get all the squares finished really by the middle of December though, because then you've got to crochet, I think it's crochet, them all together. And there's 24 squares to crochet together, so I've got to give myself a couple of weeks to do that. And the deadline for it, if you like, there is a knit along, so you know me, I'm a sucker for a knit along. So the deadline for that is the end of December, and I would love to complete it by the end of December, even if it is literally New Year's Eve where I'm finishing it off. So yeah, how productive have I been? So I know only one thing's actually completely finished, but what was that? 3 socks, 3 blanket squares, and my shawl. So go me. So those are all my finished or half finished or part finished objects. I do have a work in progress to show you, but remember which one it is. So this is the sheep jumper sweater that I talked to you about before. It is a colourwork yoke sweater. I feel like I'm rattling through this, but when we get to the yarn haul stuff, that's going to take a while to get through. So the Time Wool Tell jumper, I saw this on a group on Facebook and just fell in love with it straight away, bought the pattern straight away, could not wait to get started knitting on it. And last time I showed you, I had literally just done a few rounds of ribbing. I'd cast it on and done a tiny bit of ribbing. I have worked on it quite a lot, but I kind of been using it as a bit of a bribe to myself that, you know, you can't do any more on that until you've got that cast off. You can't do any more on that until you've finished that sock, which has worked really well because I am loving working on this, absolutely loving it. So the yarns I'm using are these 2 yarns, which is, I don't think I had the label last time. So that's Plymouth Yarn Encore, which is a worsted weight yarn, although as I think I went into detail last time, to me it is knitting up much more in a Aran weight rather than worsted weight. So I'm just looking to see if it says on here what the gauge is. Yeah, you see it says here 5 stitches to 1 inch, so in theory it should be 20. But I am finding that I'm getting more like 18 stitches to 4 inches, so it's like 4.5. So to me it is knitting up much more at an Aran weight. So I bought this yarn in Florida in 2011, and I am using, I've got a label, another label, for the contrast colour, the lovely sort of aubergine, and I think that's what this shade is called, is aubergine. I am using King Cole Merino Blend Aran. You can't see that terribly well, can you? Okay, Merino Blend Aran by King Cole. So that's 100%, oh, is it 100% Aran? Yes, It is 100% pure wool. It's merino blend. I don't know how much of it is actually merino. It's quite soft. The Encore, I think, is about 30% wool, if I remember rightly. Oh, the irony, I've just seen something on there. I'll tell you that in a minute. 75% acrylic, 25% wool. But it does feel quite woolly. The irony that I'm just about to say is I've just seen this. Made in Turkey. So it was made in Europe, shipped off to America. I bought it in America and shipped it back to the UK. So much yarn does seem to be milled in Turkey, though. It does seem to be where an awful lot of yarn companies process their yarn. So anyway, that's enough about the yarn. Do you want to see? Do you want to see what I've done? Can you tell I'm really, really liking this? I haven't done a colour work piece for a long time. Last year, Christmas last year, I did a pair of colour work socks, some advent socks, which are awesome, awesome pattern. I think that was the last time I did any colour work that I can recall. So it's been since January. Just trying to think what's the best way to show you. Oh, I want you to be able to see the yoke really well. Bear with. Can you see the sheep? You can, can't you? There you go. That's better. So that is the Time Wool Tell sweater, and there are my sheep. There's the cast on. I have tried it on around my neck, etc. So the yoke, still, I'm 2/3 of the way through the yoke because I've got another set of. Now, can I ask you, what do you think? Are these flowers or are these snowflakes? Because in my head, as soon as I saw it, I was kind of like, Christmas jumper. But I don't know if that's just because it's a Nordic style and the sample the designer had made, she had knitted it in cream and red. So you've got red sheep and red stars or flowers or snowflakes here. And to me it said Christmassy. And I think the Nordic style makes it look Christmassy. However, I was having this discussion with my friend Kate the other day over Messenger, and I said Christmas sheep, and she said, oh yeah, something like, you know, snowflakes and sheep would look really cool. And I said, it is snowflakes and sheep, isn't it? And then that got me wondering. So my theory is, if you see me wearing this jumper in November, December, it is a Christmas jumper and they are snowflakes. If you see me wearing it in February, March, then it's a spring jumper and they're flowers. It'll do for both, won't it? So I'm gonna get lots of wear out of it. But I'm really proud of myself actually, because I think the tension is not bad. I think it will block out fine. It's got German short rows at the back, and I was a bit worried. I'm not quite sure what happened because I've done German short rows before, never had this issue before. But I did have some quite big holes in the German short rows, and I really wasn't sure what I'd done wrong, because I'd gone through the back of both legs when I purled in, and I've done German short rows before, so I don't know what went wrong, or if anything did go wrong and it was just because it's thicker yarn, thicker needles. But I turned it inside out and kind of pulled where it was loose and kind of pulled through the yarn, and I think I've managed to sort it, and I think when it's blocked as well it will even out anymore. The floats, I know lots of podcasters then show their floats. I'm not ashamed of my floats. They're not perfect. They're not as beautifully uniform as some people's are. But I'm okay with those. I think they're alright. There's my floats. Look okay to me. But I love this project. It's knitting up really quickly. And yes, I'm very much using it as, like I say, a bribe. When you've got this much completed on this sock, etc., you can work on this. And it's one of those that you just want to do the next section. Or let me just get the sheep started. Or let me just get the face of the sheep done. Or let me just get to that row there. So all the time I'm on the colour work, it's quite motivating to keep going. Obviously once you've split for the armholes, etc., then you get to that stage where it's just the stocking stitch, which in some respects is quicker because you haven't got colour stuff to worry about. However, it sometimes can get a little bit tedious, and obviously I'm going to be doing long sleeves on this as well, but definitely want to have it I want to have this finished to wear at school when we have our Christmas jumper day, and that is usually, I want to say, somewhere around the 10th of December, although sometimes we don't do it until the end of term anyway, so it might not be till the very last day of term. I definitely want to be wearing that in December. So that is the deadline for myself, is December. Preferably before the end of term, or definitely before the end of term. So that wasn't quite a new cast on, although as I say, I'd only done about that much. Oh, I need to put a stitch marker, a progress keeper in there now, don't I? Right, I do have a new cast on to show you. I've not brought the pattern down. So rubbish. I will try and insert a picture of the pattern for this one because I've forgotten to bring the pattern down. So this was a new, huge, great big bag I bought in the summer. In the summer? Yeah, I think I bought it with some of my birthday money from, yes I did, I used some of my birthday money for it. So this is going to be my striped sweater that I have shown you the yarn for before. So I've got 4 different colours. Oh, what a surprise, there's a purple. It's lovely grey, silver grey. This green. And also this brown. So those are my colours. So the reason I've suddenly paused is because I have got another one in there as well, but I think the plan is to use these 4. I think I'm really rubbish today. But I have got this one as well. Now, I've only got I only had 1 skein of this brown, whereas I've got 2 skeins of this green and the silver and the purple, and I've only got 1 skein of this. So my plan, because I was worried about whether I'd got enough of this colour, I looked at the pattern and I thought, right, well, where is the least amount of one colour used? And that would be round the bottom of the armholes, the bottom of the arms, so around the wrists, and the bottom of the jumper, because it's got ribbing and there's no increases, etc. So I thought that's probably going to use the least amount of yarn. So I thought I don't want to knit the front, knit the back, and then discover I haven't got enough yarn for the cuffs of the sleeves. So my theory is, if I started the sleeve in that colour and then did either the front or the back of that colour, as long as that hadn't taken more than 50% of that skein, then I'll have enough to do the same again on the other sleeve and the other front or back. So I've done that much of the sleeve. You can see it's on cable. I've done that much of the sleeve, and it would use 15 grams out of my 100 grams. And now I have cast on the back, front, whichever one it is. So I've cast that on as well. So once I've done the brown, the right amount of rows in that, I will weigh this and see. Obviously, if I haven't got enough, then I'm going to rethink. It might just be that I just do the ribbing in this and pull back the, rip back the stocking stitch. So I have got it started. I am a little worried about, I think it's going to be tight as to whether I've got enough of that. But that's my plan. And then I started to wonder whether actually that's how I might knit it to begin with anyway, is kind of do a block of colour for each part, rather than sort of doing all the front, all the back. I don't know whether that might make it feel quicker or not. I don't know. So That's the striped sweater anyway. So it started. Now that is more autumnal, so really I should put more work into that than the Christmas jumper, because this is more autumnal. But at the moment I'm enjoying the Christmas sweater more. So we'll see. But I think once this gets into big blocks of stocking stitch as well, it's going to be another sort of like TV knitting type. So that's my cast on, new cast on. So that is all my knitting projects. A lot to this this episode. I knew that there would be a lot to show you, because as I say, I feel like I've been really productive. Okay, I'm going to move on now to my yarn haul, and it is a bit of a haul. So I know for some people that might not be your thing to sit and watch somebody kind of going, oh, and I bought this and I bought this and I bought that, and I totally understand, because sometimes I can feel a bit like that watching podcasts. Though I feel like in my defence, it's not something I often do. I don't know why I don't defend myself. So, but I did buy quite a bit at the yarn festival. So, but I will say this. There was only one item that was full price. Everything else was discounted. And I went with a budget, as I did go over the budget. But I had the money saved, and I had some ideas in my head of what I did want to get. And I got some of those things, and I've got some things on impulse. Hey, it is what it is. I don't know why I'm trying to defend myself. I don't have to defend myself to my husband about what I bought. He didn't even ask. I did say to him, do you want to see what I bought? And he went, not really. That's fine. That's fine. So anyway, hopefully you guys do want to see what I bought. So where did I go and what did I buy? I went to the Bakewell Wool Gathering, and obviously bought a bag. Like a souvenir bag. So I went to the Bakewell Wool Gathering, and I went with two friends. We drove together, and then we met up with two more friends once we got there as well. So they're from my knitting group. So crazy bunch of knitters, all really into our knitting stuff. And it was lovely. It's a Bakewell in the Peak District, which was it's less than an hour's drive for us to go there. And the festival was on, or the wool gathering was on last weekend, Saturday and Sunday, and it was at the Bakewell Agricultural Showground. It's not a massive show, but it's a reasonable size. It's quite a lot of stalls. I don't know how many exactly. It's going to be 30 or 40 stands, I would say. We said what we would do, and I was already a bit worried about this because this is not how I normally do things, but I think it was a good idea. We said what we would do is we would go round the whole show first, not buy anything. That's hard for me. That's really difficult for me. That took a lot of willpower, I don't mind admitting. So we said we'll go around the show once and then go and have coffee and cake. Now I'm all for coffee and cake, but again, I was getting a bit twitchy about, I want to go and buy stuff. So that is what we did. We went round, and I was very good. I didn't buy anything. And then we went and had a full English breakfast in the cafe and talked about what we'd seen and what we were going to get. And I was getting really twitchy. And then we went back in and started buying, or started looking at purchases. I am pleased I did it actually, because I was probably more considered. But one of the reasons I was getting twitchy was the first thing I bought. And I've actually put it at the bottom because although it was the first thing that I bought, it was the last thing I opened, and it was a mystery bag, so I'll talk about that. But I wanted to get that because I was worried that they were going to sell out of the mystery bags. So I'll talk about the mystery bags, the mystery bag as the last thing though, because although I bought a mystery bag, we didn't open it. I didn't see what was in it until after. So first thing I bought actually, was it's a squirrel. The first thing I bought, okay, so one of the things I thought I would look for, I said to myself, don't buy yarn that you could dye yourself or that you've got yourself, because if you don't know, I do dye yarn as well, and I have, most of my yarn is dyed on 75-25 superwash merino nylon or 85-15. I have got a little bit of silk. So I thought anything that's got cashmere, yak, lots of silk in it, etc. Anything that you don't dye yourself is fair game. But you know, I was sort of saying to myself, don't and self-striping, because I don't dye self-striping. So I thought, you know, don't buy things that you've already got at home or you could already have at home dead easily. Try and buy things maybe either slightly out of your comfort zone, or not normally your normal colours, or on bases that you don't use. And one of the stands that I went to was Truly Hooked, Verity, from Truly Hooked. She is a dyer from Nottingham. I mean, to be fair, most of the stands were local to, you know, relatively local anyway, because it's a local, smallish show. But Truly Hooked, the lady who runs that company, is called Verity. And I really, really wanted to go and say hello to her as well, because she's actually a friend of a friend, and so I kind of wanted to say, hi, I know your friend so and so, etc. So I wanted to do that. And I'd seen she had got, I mean, she's got beautiful range of yarns, and she was doing a deal as well that if you bought 3 skeins you got £10 off. So she was already doing a good deal. But I suddenly saw she had got a big bucket, or, you know, like plastic bin full of skeins that said, you know, reduced. And I love a bargain. So I had thought it'd be nice to get maybe enough skeins put together as a fade set, or to do I really like the start again. I've got it in my head that there's a few jumpers around, or sweater designs at the moment, that I like the look of, the Love Note, the Whitmore, etc. So I thought to myself, right, well, have a look, you know, when you've actually got the opportunity to put skeins together in front of you, maybe look at doing a fade or some kind of some kind of yarns that complement each other. Right, I'll go and and before I went to the bargain bucket, she had got some hand knitted stuff that she had knitted for herself on display, and there was a sweater that I really liked the look of, and I said to her, I said, oh, what pattern is that? And she said, oh, that's the Love Note. And I thought, there we go again. It's a bit like the ranunculus for me. It's one of those sweaters, I don't necessarily recognise it, but I always like it. I said, oh, I'm thinking about doing a Love Note. And she told me what she'd used, etc. So I thought, right, I'm going over to a bargain bucket. Let's have a look and see what she's got, if I can put together my own little kit to do a Love Note. Well, I was really, really happy, because I suddenly discovered they weren't just single skeins in there. She had got matching skeins. And the Love Note, you need to use 4-ply and alpaca, or mohair, something like that, held together with 4-ply, or do it in double DK weight yarn. So I was really, really pleased to find 3 of these skeins in matching colour, and 3 alpaca, baby alpaca, so it's Suri alpaca and silk. So I could not believe in her bargain bucket I could put together a kit to do the Love Note. Now, I say bargain bucket, I'm not going to lie, it's not the same as buying like a commercial sweater, we know that, and it still wasn't. But considering what this would have been full price, okay, getting these at a reduced and being able to hold them together at the time and see them, so I do like this colour. I think I love, it's called Spearmint, but I think this will just mute it down slightly as well, so that it's not quite as bright. And it is where I have kind of broken my rule, is that this is 75/25, so it is a base that I do dye, but I've not dyed anything this colour particularly, and it was the Suri alpaca, the fact that I could match the Suri alpaca with it. So that one's called Aqua, and it's alpaca lace. So I've got 900 metres of that, and then I've got 3 of this, 400 metres, so I've got plenty. I've got 1200, nearly 1300 metres. So I doubt very much that I'm going to need all that. I'm probably going to have most of one skein left, I think, or certainly half a skein left. But then, if I get it, if I do this before Christmas, and I've heard that similar to ranunculus, it knits up quite quickly, because it is you hold these together and then knit them on relatively large needles. Is it 6 mils, 5 mil? So that is going to be a Love Note. and I can't cast that on until I've finished at least one of my other sweaters. That's the deal. So that was the first purchase that I made at the wool gathering. And then the next thing was I had been really taken by a shawl sample that had been knitted up, and I'd been really taken by it. It was like really nice pattern and striped, called Rock My Shawl. And that's the pattern, and I really liked it. You can't see very well there, it's got stripes there, and I loved it. But the kits again were quite pricey, so I double checked that you could get the pattern on online, that I could buy the pattern separately, and from the same shop, to be fair, so they weren't really losing my business. They had got some other yarn reduced, so again it was on offer. And so I kind of put together my own kit using a slightly cheaper yarn. This is more of a commercial yarn. Adrifill Impero, and it is beautifully soft. It is 37% viscose, 36% wool, 19% yak and 8% polyamide. So the yak in it I think just makes it so squishy. So I put together my own kit. So I'm going to do the striped section in these two colours. I've got two of each of these. So I'm going to do the striped section in these two colours. Then there's a lace section in the middle, which I'm going to use this blue for the lace section. And then there is the darker edging, and I've got this dark grey. In the kit that was like a purple. Dark purple, and if I could have done, I would have used dark purple, but they didn't have any dark purple in this yarn, so I've gone with more like it's a very dark grey, and that will be the edging. Now the only thing is, this is more like sport weight, and the pattern is 4-ply, so it's probably going to knit up bigger, and I am already now questioning myself, am I going to have enough yarn? But we'll see how it goes. But it was beautiful, it was beautifully soft. And what's nice about being back at yarn festivals is obviously that you can squidge and feel, etc. And you know, I wouldn't have known just how soft this is if I hadn't have been able to touch it and feel it. And it was reduced, so again, it compared to the price of the original kit, it was probably about 1/3 cheaper than the kit. But obviously I have now got the concern of whether I've got enough yarn. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed I will. So that was my second purchase. Now there were some other things. I wanted to look at Lika Needles, and the very first stand we went to had got Lika Needles. And because it was the very first stand, the very first time we went round, I was like, well, not buying those straight away. One, I'm not allowed to buy anything the first time round anyway. And two, you know, you don't buy anything off the first stand straight away, you go back there. So I went back to the first stand to get some Lika needles, or to see what the fuss was about. But the only set that I would have bought myself would have been 2.25 double pointed needles, because that's what I use for socks. And as you can see, I often have a lot of pairs of socks on the go, so it's always good to have lots of pairs, or lots of sets of those needles. And actually, when I went back to that, I was surprised that was the only stand selling that brand. I thought there'd be, because they seem to be quite a new, sort of relatively popular new brand. Anyway, they were the only store that I saw selling them. And when I went back, what's what they sold out of? 2.25 mil. So I didn't buy any of those. Another thing that I'd got in my head though was, like I said to you, I don't do self-striping yarn myself. So I was quite keen to try and find some self-striping yarn, particularly in something Christmassy. And I looked and I looked and I looked and I looked, and Giddy Yarns, I think it was Giddy Yarns, were there. And they do quite a lot of self-striping. And they had got something called, I think it was called Candy Canes, but the stripes were quite thin and I wanted sort of thicker stripes. And I went back and looked at it quite a few times, and it just wasn't working for me. So I didn't actually think I was going to get, and then I kept thinking, well, is there anything that I see that is Christmassy? And I'd given up on that, and then suddenly at the last minute, or not quite last minute, I went to Ducky Darlings, and I really like Ducky Darlings. I buy from her online, and she had got this set, and it's not self-striping because like she doesn't do self-striping either, but I did think they looked Christmassy colours, and it's got stellina in it as well, and I just thought these look nice Christmassy colours, and this made me think of like gingerbread and red berries, and I thought, oh, I could use that as Christmassy colours. Now actually she's called them autumn berries, but I decided these were Christmassy to me, I think because of the stellina as well, and like I say, red and sort of like gingerbread. So these are going to be some socks that I'm going to cast on at the beginning of December for Christmas, or I might cast them on before that. But they're going to be for my Christmas socks. They might become my next pair of Strictly socks because I've got stellina. So once I've finished the Strictly socks that I'm working on at the moment, these might be my next pair. So I did buy that, and that kind of broke my rule that it's not self-striping. But I liked the kit, and I liked how they were, and I guess there was part of me that wanted to buy something from Hayley from Ducky Darlings in person, because I follow her on Instagram. I'm always liking a lot of her yarns that she posts, so it was nice to buy something actually in person. So then I thought, obviously I've still got the mystery bag to show you, so then I thought I had bought everything I wanted to buy. I'd got my mystery kit, I had got the love note, I had got the shawl, and I'd got something for Christmas socks. Yeah, I'm finished, I'm done. I said, yeah, let's go to where we were going next, which I'll tell you about as well. And just as we were about to go, back by the entrance and the exit was a stall called Sheep on Mars, I think it is. And they'd also got a bargain bucket. And it said £8 a skein. Well, I'm not being funny. How can I can't walk past something that says £8 a skein? So, hang on. Let me go and have a rummage. Need to go and check that out. At £8 a skein, I need to go and have a look. So I went and looked. And I found this skein of yarn. So yeah, Sheep on Mars. So I found this skein, and it is merino and silk. And I looked at it, I thought, do I like that? Do I like that? Don't I like that? Do I like that? Don't I like that? I think I like that. Then I realised I'd got a second skein of it, and I was like, oh, well, maybe this could be quite nice as a sweater. Hang on a minute. They've got 3 skeins of it. More than that, they had 4. I don't know what I'm going to make. I don't know what I'm going to make. I'm going to make something though that doesn't need, I don't want to hold it together with something else, because I think 4 skeins of 4-ply will be enough to make something at a tighter gauge than something like the love note or whatever. So I will admit I don't know what I'm going to make with these. They are my sort of colours. I don't know how well it's going to knit up like variegated. But I will be honest and say it was one of those that it felt like it was too good a bargain to miss. So that's the company, Sheep on Mars. I think I have one of them on Instagram. I haven't done this yet actually. I haven't opened it up to look at it to see what it's going to be like to. Okay. So I don't know yet what that's going to make. What it's going to be like. What I'll do is I will start knitting it up on something, but if I'm finding the variegation is too much or the pattern is too much, then I might reconsider and put in some alpaca lace or something along those lines to tone it down. But I'm going to give it a try first as it is. But so I kind of, that one, everything else I knew what I wanted to knit with it. I did think originally, oh, maybe the Whitmore, but then when I realised actually just how much I've got, 1600 metres, I'm thinking of knitting something, as I say, with a tighter gauge that uses more yarn because I've got more. I'll have to have a look in my Ravelry Q actually, because I'm bound to have, in fact I'm certain I've got some 4-ply sweater or cardigan patterns actually. So that, there's no colourway, there's no name on that colour, there's no name on the colourway, but I think it is going to, I hope anyway, it's going to knit up into something beautiful. Right, so after we had finished there and I had all my purchases, I had said, I was driving Kate and Penny, I was their chauffeur, and I had said to them if we'd got time, would they mind if we went to Peak District Yarns on the way home, or before we went home, which is in a village called Tideswell, which is about 20 minutes from where we were. And they were, because I wanted to buy some dye, and that's where I sometimes buy it from, is from Carrie at Peak District Yarns. And Penny and Kate had not been there before to the shop, so they were like, yeah, fine, we'll go to another yarn shop with you, Amanda, no problem. So we went there, and I didn't buy any of her yarn, but I bought some dyes, which I'll be using this weekend, and actually I could not resist this cute little bag as well from her at Peak District Yarns, with also cute little tin. I really like this designer. I think it's Emma somebody, yeah, Emma Ball, and she's got these lovely designs that are used quite often with knitting project bags and things like that. And look at the lining in here, it's got like knitted, looks like knitted fabric. So Carrie was selling these. I don't know who they're made by, just by Emma Ball Limited, by the artist I think then. So that's awesome. The tin says a little tin to store goodies in, so that's going to be really cute. Nice little project bag, medium sized project bag, and really reasonably priced as well. £12.50, very, very reasonably priced. The tin didn't come with that, the tin was separate, but I can't remember how much that was. So yeah, so we went there, and so Michelle came with us there as well. So there was Michelle, Kate, Penny and myself. And then in that village they have some lovely little cafes, so by that point it was about 3 o'clock, so we said, right, let's go and have another cup of tea, another bit of cake or something, and open our mystery bags that we had bought. So that is what we did. Okay, so the mystery bag, which was the first thing I bought, but it was the last thing I opened. So this was from the store Rosie's Moments, and these bags were there, and as you can see it says each bag contains a minimum of 100 grams fingering weight yarn and surprise gifts for £13. And I was like, well, a skein of yarn for £13 is not bad anyway. And I was looking at her stall and I thought, I don't think there's any colours in her, on her stand, that I don't like. You know, everything looked lovely, really lovely colours. And I thought, I'm going to risk it. I'm going to take a risk. So 3 of us bought these and we opened them up at the cafe. Now I'm going to show you the yarn last, and there's a reason for that, or the main skein of yarn. So what did I get? I got a cute little Emma Ball again, actually, a little postcard or a little card with an envelope. I got, I don't really know what this is, to be honest. I know that Rosie's Moments, the dyer, she does a lot of clubs during the year, so I don't know whether some of these goodies might have been things that were parts of clubs. So I've got a little hanging caravan. Yeah, caravan I think. So not quite sure what that is, but it's quite cute. Don't know if, maybe it's no, I don't think it was that. I've got a full-on sewing kit. Well, not being funny, needles, pins, tape measure, cotton, always handy, always handy. Remember, this all came in this bag for £13. So a full-on sewing kit, some tape, some Love Heart tape. It is a bit random, I will admit. Another little tin, stitch markers. I think as it is, it's just one stitch marker in here. Oh no, actually, I tell a lie. So you've got cute little daffodil stitch marker and then a couple of light bulb stitch markers. But these tins are really handy, aren't they, for keeping your own stitch markers and notions in, etc. So we've got a little tin with a couple of stitch markers in. A couple of Sharpie pens, highlighters. Well, I love my stationery, so a couple of highlighters. What else? Oh yeah, so then we get into more of the knitting stuff. A set of bamboo DPNs, and I think they're 4mm, yeah, 4mm DPNs. So that's going to be really useful because again, I do use DPNs for sleeves, for hats, for mittens, things like that. So a full set. And also those blanket squares that I'm knitting, they're on DPNs and they do need to be quite long. In fact, actually, if those are longer than the ones I'm already using, I'm going to double check. I'm going to swap to putting these in here. Just what you want me to do right now, isn't it? Talk amongst yourselves. Oh, they're the same length, to be fair. They're the same length, but I'm going to put them in so that in there, so I've got a spare set of them because I lose things or lose single needles. Okay, so yeah, so a set of 4mm DPNs, or another little card with dolphins on. I don't think I noticed that one before. So another little gift card. So if I'm doing swaps and things, it's quite nice to put a little card in with them. Then there were some minis. Now I actually got 2 of these minis plus these 2, but my friend Kate didn't have very many minis in hers, so I gave her one of my minis because I had 2 the same. So these 3 minis were in it. Don't forget there's a full skein that I'm going to show you in a minute as well. Another set of DPNs. These ones are 3mm, I think. 3mm, yeah. So another set of DPNs. And then a magnetic, I think this is a placeholder in a pattern. So if you were doing lace chart on a paper pattern, you can attach this over your pattern to show you where you're at. Now at the moment I tend to not use paper patterns, I tend to mostly use PDFs anyway, and even if it is paper I try to take a photo of it and use it as a PDF rather than that, but it's quite cool. Oh, and then a little sachet of coffee. So the skein I had was, the skein of yarn that I got in the mystery bag was a mixture of teal and purple, and it was nice and I did like it. And then Kate opened hers and hers was like pure teal, and my friend Penny opened hers and hers was all lilacs. Well, if you know me, you know how I like my purple. And I'm not gonna lie, I did look at Kate's teal one and I did look at Penny's purple one and I looked back at mine and I did like mine, but I liked theirs more. If I'm really honest, I did like theirs more. Anyway, but we were all like, oh wow, we got really nice, I mean, you know, that amount of stuff. And then I said to Penny, she was looking at hers, and I said, don't you like yours? And she went, not really, I'm not really sure. And I was like, oh, okay, well, do you want to swap? Or do you want to swap with what, you know? And then, and Kate said, you can swap with me as well, I don't mind. So then she had the choice of swapping between the teal or the teal and lilac, and I'm thinking, please swap with me, because I'm that selfish. Anyway, so Penny was like, are you sure? And we were both like, yeah, absolutely, you can, you know, swap with one of us. And so she looked at it and she swapped it with Kate, with the teal. And then Kate then just swapped it with mine. And I went, are you sure? She went, yeah, absolutely. So it was so funny because all 3 of us were not disappointed or didn't like our yarn. And bear in mind it was a mystery bag, but all 3 of us were kind of like looking at the other people's, and so when we swapped them, we all ended up then with the yarn a skein that we really, really liked. So this was mine. So this is, I say, from Rosie's Moments, and it is called Lilacs, and that was part with all those mini skeins, with the little note cards, with the 2 sets of bamboo DPNs, etc, etc, with the stitch markers, all of that was in one mystery grab bag, which was just fantastic. And that is very me, isn't it? Very, very much my colours. So yeah, it was quite funny that we just swapped them out. So I'm really pleased that we opened them together, because then we all ended up, well, at least I hope Kate and Penny feel the same way. Please say you do, Kate. Please say you do, Penny. Because it was quite funny that we all ended up swapping, but all really happy with the yarn that we got. And that is it. That is it. So yes, after we'd eaten our cheesecake and everything, we headed home. But we had such a lovely day. Well, it was just so nice. I was looking for, I was going to take some film footage of it. I was fully planning on videoing some footage in the yarn show. And actually we took some photos outside before we went in, and I absolutely, in my head, I was going to video even just a little bit of footage in there. But I think I just got caught up by the excitement and the fumes of the yarn, and I didn't video anything to show you, so I'm sorry. How rubbish is that? I fully planned on having a couple of minutes of footage to put in at the end of my podcast, or at the beginning of my podcast, and it didn't happen. So I am very sorry about that. I will try to do better the next time I go to a yarn show, which I don't know when that will be. Not for a while, I don't think. I am going to a yarn store next weekend though, because I have now got 2 weeks off school. I have a very big to-do list of stuff to do for school, but I also have a to-do list of stuff to do for little Likac as well. But next weekend I am going away for a girls' weekend, and we're going to Bath, down in the southwest of England. And I know there are a couple of yarn shops in Bath that I really would like to go and visit, so I'm hoping to get there on Friday afternoon and go and visit those yarn shops before I meet up with the rest of my friends. And if I remember, I'll at least take some photos. I will ask maybe if I can take a little bit of footage if I remember, if I don't get too excited. I'm not planning on buying very much if I do go there. I will buy something because I like to buy it as a souvenir, but it won't be kind of like a haul in that way. And that's really, oh, and then I'm going to be back at Newark Market the Halloween weekend as well. That's really all I've got planned yarny wise for the next couple of weeks, but so thank you for joining me. I hope you like what you have seen. I hope you found it interesting. If you like my podcast, please subscribe to the channel. Feel free to go back and watch some of my other videos. I am on Instagram. If you are interested in the Advent swap, please get in touch with me by Sunday the 24th. Either email me at littlelikac@gmail.com, or message me on Instagram, or leave a comment in the Ravelry thread, which nobody has used. As I say, so far people have emailed me, but you can email me or contact me on Instagram DMs for that if you're interested. So yes, thank you very much for watching. Lovely to talk to you. Thank you for all the comments from last time. So nice when people put a comment on the podcast. Really appreciate it. And I will see you in a couple of weeks. Bye.